The United States is moving aggressively to secure its supplies of critical minerals, and few partnerships are more important to this effort than the one with Canada. According to a Reuters report published just yesterday, the U.S. Department of Defense announced plans to purchase up to $500 million U.S. worth of cobalt for defense stockpiles over the next 5 years. Only 3 companies have been invited to participate in the bidding. Vale Canada, the Toronto-based subsidiary of the Brazilian mining giant that is one of the world's leading nickel and cobalt producers. Glenore, a global mining company with extensive cobalt operations linked to Canadian supply chains, and Jervois Global, which operates cobalt production in North America, including projects with Canadian connections. The inclusion of Vale Canada on this short list underscores how indispensable Canadian resources are to U.S. strategic planning. The urgency in Washington is obvious. In June, China slashed exports of rare earth magnets by 75%. A shock that forced some auto manufacturers to suspend production. This move highlighted how dependent the United States and its allies remain on Beijing's near total control of many critical minerals. President Trump, confronting mounting pressure from U.S. defense industries and electric vehicle manufacturers, invoked emergency powers in March to accelerate domestic production. But while the U.S. is ramping up exploration, refining, and recycling capacity, its reserves and processing facilities are still limited. Simply put, the U.S. cannot meet its own demand without Canada. Canada's position in this sector is enviable. The country is home to more than 60 different minerals and metals produced across 200 operating mines, and there are nearly 130 new mining projects under construction. Of the 23 critical minerals officially identified by Washington as vital for defense and high-tech industries, Canada can supply 22. Ottawa has recognized the strategic opportunity, and since 2022 has pledged nearly $4 billion Canadian dollars to expand mining, processing, and recycling capacity. These investments are designed not just to fuel the energy transition, but also to reinforce North America's defense and industrial base. These commitments are already materializing in projects that are directly tied to U.S. supply chains. In Ontario, supported by more than $20 million from the U.S. military, construction is advancing on what will be North America's only cobalt sulfate refinery, an essential facility for producing battery-grade cobalt for electric vehicles and defense applications. In Saskatchewan, Canada opened a rare earth processing plant capable of producing enough material for 500,000 electric vehicles per year. These are not marginal contributions. They represent a structural reshaping of the continent's ability to reduce its dependence on China. The U.S. has also begun investing directly in Canadian firms through the Defense Production Act. Fortune Minerals received $6.4 million matched by $5.6 million Canadian dollars from Ottawa to advance its cobalt, gold, bismuth, copper project in the Northwest Territories. Lomico Metals secured $8.3 million alongside $3.66 million Canadian dollars from Natural Resources Canada to accelerate its graphite development in Quebec. These targeted investments reflect a recognition in Washington that Canadian projects are not just helpful, but essential to the U.S. defense industrial base. Yet, despite this interdependence, the existing trade framework under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, is ill-equipped to support long-term cooperation on critical minerals. The agreement renegotiated under President Trump in 2018 focuses heavily on automotive content rules, labor standards, and tariff protections, but it contains no dedicated provisions for minerals cooperation. This omission has become glaring as demand for cobalt, nickel, lithium, and rare earths accelerates. Without harmonized tariffs, joint procurement rules, and cross-border financing mechanisms, supply chains risk remaining fragmented. That fragmentation could make it harder to build the kind of North American resilience policymakers say they want. Think tanks such as the Brookings Institution and the Center for Strategic and International Studies have already warned that the U.S. needs a deeper institutionalized partnership with Canada. They have advocated for a North American Critical Minerals Club that would establish coordinated subsidies, common environmental and labor standards, and shared price stabilization tools to shield projects from market volatility. At present, Canada has shown the initiative, creating a national critical mineral strategy and pumping billions of dollars into exploration and processing. Washington has taken piecemeal steps, but without a comprehensive trade and investment framework, the U.S. risks undercutting its own supply chain security. The stakes are particularly high given Canada's options. While Canada values its U.S. partnership, it has also expanded its ties with Europe and Asia. Its growing capacity to produce and process cobalt, rare earths, and other key minerals means it can pivot to other buyers if the US becomes too protectionist or unreliable. Canada's diversification, coupled with its strong labor and environmental standards, positions it as an attractive supplier to global automakers and battery manufacturers. In contrast, the United States cannot so easily diversify away from Canada. Its domestic mineral base is smaller, and permitting delays often stall new projects for years. This asymmetry means that failing to expand trade cooperation beyond USMCA would hurt the United States more than Canada. Tariffs or protectionist measures may appeal politically in Washington, but they risk driving up defense procurement costs, slowing the rollout of electric vehicles, and leaving U.S. manufacturers exposed to supply shocks from Beijing. For Canada, the consequences would be less severe. Its economy is resilient, its retail spending remains solid despite tariff pressures, and its strategic minerals will continue to find buyers in Europe and Asia. The upcoming review of USMCA in 2026 offers a rare opportunity to fix this gap. A retold agreement could embed critical minerals into the very heart of the North American Economic Partnership, aligning tariffs, funding joint procurement, and establishing mechanisms for long-term investment. If Washington seizes this chance, both countries will emerge stronger, more competitive, and less dependent on China. If it does not, Canada will continue to build capacity with other partners, while the United States finds itself at greater risk of falling behind. Yesterday's Reuters report on the Pentagon's cobalt purchase underscores this reality. The U.S. is not just choosing Canadian companies as suppliers because they are convenient. It is doing so because without them, American defense and technology sectors cannot function at the pace required. The lesson is clear. Canada is not simply a junior partner in critical minerals, but a cornerstone of North America's economic and strategic security. Weakening or neglecting this partnership would be a mistake, one that would harm Washington far more than Ottawa. Thanks for watching. We rely on your support. Please like and comment to help more people find us, and don't miss the next video we picked just for you.